Let's talk about the Monroe Doctrine and its modern iteration, the Donroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine was postulated, was launched by former United States President, President James Monroe. The doctrine was named after him back in 1983. And the core idea behind the Monroe Doctrine essentially is that no power, back then, the power that could essentially contest territory with the United States of America, back then in 1823, were the Europeans, the European powers. And essentially, the whole idea about the Monroe Doctrine is that from henceforth, no power, especially the European powers, could contest territory when it comes particularly to colonialism with America, especially in and around its backyard. So when we speak of the Americas, we are speaking of countries like Canada, what we call Canada now, countries like Mexico, countries like Venezuela, countries like Cuba, countries like Paraguay, Uruguay, Ecuador, Colombia, all those South American countries, all those countries on the American continent, North America, South America. So what the Monroe Doctrine essentially is saying is that no other power should have influence, should control, should decide the fate of the people of the Americas except the United States of America. Now, what is the Donroe Doctrine? The Donroe Doctrine is a play on the word Monroe, with the name of the current American president, in the name of President Donald Trump. And the Donroe Doctrine is essentially a rejuvenation or a resuscitation, you could call it that, of the idea of the Monroe Doctrine. And the Donroe Doctrine essentially says, in our modern times, every country in the Americas, every country in North and South America must essentially live, must essentially subsist, must essentially exercise its sovereign powers according to American will. It is the spirit of the Donroe Doctrine, so to say, that caused the United States of America to actually go on into Venezuela, so to say, invade the country, so to say, capture the president of the country in the name of President Nicolas Maduro back then, in the name of drug charges, take him over to the US, charge him to US court, and essentially decapitate their government, and then all of the rest of the government of Venezuela is now beholden and is completely controlled by the United States of America. It is also the same spirit of the Donroe Doctrine that is making the United States at this time essentially squeeze existential civic life out of the country of Cuba as we speak today. I want you to remember that in the name of the Monroe Doctrine, Cuba has been under sanctions now for close to 60 years, by far even longer than the current Iran that America and Israel are currently prosecuting war against, who have been under American and Western sanctions for about 47 years. You see, there are people in our midst as we speak today who are younger, who have spent less time in this world, who have spent less time in this world subsisting than Cuba has been under sanctions. If you see that country, if you see videos from that country, if you see how life has been in that country for the past 60 years, you will truly pity them. It is the Monroe cum Donroe doctrine that is at work. Now, President Donald Trump is now moving on the country, is now trying to find a civic way, a more civilian way, as against the Venezuelan model, to essentially do the same thing he did in Venezuela, in Cuba, and that is trying to ensure regime change, replace the powers that be in Cuba with folks who essentially will be beholden to the United States of America. The concept of the Monroe Doctrine and the Donroe Doctrine will be very important in our discourse of the next topic. Why? Because you see, the Monroe Doctrine and the modern iteration of which is called the Donroe is called the Donroe Doctrine, will be important in explaining what America is exactly doing in and to the rest of the world. Because what America is essentially doing to the rest of the world and is attempting to do to the rest of the world is what I call extended Monroe Doctrine, such that America is now trying to project power, is now trying to control the sovereignties of countries that are not even in or around its a geographical area, that are not even in or around the environment where American can conveniently and geographically call its a backyard. In the next video, you are going to understand better what I'm trying to pass across here. I hope I've been able to give you a sound background of what is to come in the next video by God's grace. Again, don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to toggle the notification button so that you can always follow and you can always enjoy our videos and our analysis. And please ask your questions and comments, and I'll gladly answer them. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.